Good afternoon. I know that we've got folks that are just joining us. So it is great to have you this afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you're tuning in from. If you have a moment before we kind of get started, if you already have a Cox Campus account, you can go ahead and log in on your browser. We're going to be dropping a lot of links today, and we just want to make it a little bit easier to be able to access those resources. And if you don't already have an account, no worries. Be sure to go to Cox Campus, and we'll drop the link in the chat. And you can head over to Cox Campus, create an account very shortly. Takes like a couple minutes. It's very quick. And it's free. And so that'll just make it easier to access some of the resources we're sharing today. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Nathan, so we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Lethea. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is our birth through 5-year-long learning journey. And today we are focused on element 3 of the ecosystem approach. So that is consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. And we're really excited to get into this content, show you some examples, and have a discussion. So thank you all for joining.
All right, so my name is Lethea Lipscomb. I'll be one of your facilitators this afternoon. I'm a birth to pre-K facilitator with the Atlanta Speech School's Brown Center for Language and Literacy. I've got 11 years of experience in education going into my 12th year. Very excited. Absolutely love witnessing children's growth throughout the course of the year and celebrating their many milestones along the way. I always find that exciting. And my favorite thing to do for self-care is to intentionally slow down and rest. I believe in the power of rest. So sometimes we just need to slow down before we speed up. All right, I'll pass it off to me.
All right, and I'm Nathan Thompson, a birth through 5 pre-K facilitator. I have been in the field for about 23 years, and making connections is a big part of what I do and what I love. It's something I value. So just making connections with children, making connections with other adults that I work with. So I always learn a lot about myself through these connections. And one of my favorite things to do for self-care is to ride my bicycle. It's good for my soul. It's good for my body. It's good for my mind. So I try to ride every day. It's been cold lately, so it's hard to get out there, but that's one of my favorite things.
And your text ID is basically like your...
All right, so we want to do a roll call. We would like to know who's in the room. So if you could answer the poll that's going to pop up here. Let us know, are you a Cox Campus member already? And also, what best describes your current role? So we'll give you a minute to get those in there in the poll. See some coaches and instructional leads, teachers. I'm sure some of us are also parents. Oh, 100% Cox Campus members. That's great. Got a few. Okay. You can always go join for free. Chat. All right.
And I see we've got a mixture of folks who have taken the ecosystem course and some folks haven't yet. So it's pretty exciting there.
Keep an eye on the chat. You're going to get a lot of good links and reminders in the chat. Thank you, Maggie, for putting those things in there for us.
All right, so these are our Cox Campus core values. And so the time that we spend today will definitely be living into some of these different ones. We want our time to be rewarding, empowering, connecting, safe, and essential for the work that we do and the spaces that we touch. And so I'm hoping that in particular with our time together that we'll have opportunities to connect and empower one another with the great ideas that we'll have to share and the great ideas that you all have in your back pocket that you're able to share with others in this community that we have this afternoon. So very excited to engage with you all. So just taking and as folks are kind of popping in, just remember to hit the mute, but we'll have opportunities to kind of come off mute and use that raise hand feature and kind of come off the mic to share. So taking a look at our agenda for today, we'll get into a little icebreaker coming up next. Then we'll get into the introduction to consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. Then we'll take a look at the ecosystem element number 3. So getting a closer look there and going through some reflection practices. And then we'll really dive into some of those examples, some videos, some resources, and opportunities to share ideas with one another. And then we'll close out. So you can go to the next slide. Yep.
All right, so here's our icebreaker. First, I want to explain what we mean by routines, and that is a sequence of actions regularly followed or a fixed program, and something that's performed as part of a regular procedure rather than for a special reason. So something you do every day. A routine for me is that I get up and have coffee every day. And I usually have coffee with my wife, and we have that special time in the morning. So what is a routine that you perform every day? And you can unmute and tell us, or you can put it in the chat. Lethea, what's one of your routines every day?
So one of my routines is for waking up, I have my alarm that I set that's ready every day, but I hit snooze twice. So snooze twice, and then I head to my bathroom and restroom routine, showering, brushing my teeth, doing my hair, getting dressed, and then starting my day from there with either some tea, maybe with some lemon water, and going from there. But yeah, I start off with hitting the snooze twice.
Love it. I'm seeing coffee, working out. That's great. Making the bed. That makes me feel good to have the bed made. Let's see, brushing teeth. I'm looking at the chat here. Showering, brushing teeth. Emails early. Okay, taking care of those emails early. I know Bridget, she's a family child care provider, so I know you got to get those emails in before those parents show up. Treadmill. Dinner time. Great. These are great routines. Feel free to continue to jump in the chat there, and you can add some more, and everybody take a look. I see prayers in the morning, lemon water. These are great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing about your routines. Now let's talk about routines in the classroom. So these are the 9 essential ecosystem elements, and you see they're divided by 3 different areas because of the colors, the blue and the yellow and the red. And those areas are, the first one is climate cluster, the second one is a content cluster, and the third area is connections clusters. And so we are looking at consistent routines, rituals, and transitions today. We want to give you all some examples to take away with, and we do want to explain a little bit about how important these are. This is definitely one of the 9 elements of the ecosystem.
Jamal, where's your paper?
Nathan, you're muted.
Thank you. Okay. I also want to point out that sometimes when I'm in a classroom, I notice that if the classroom has really great established consistent routines, rituals, and transitions, they also fit into some of these other elements like safe and responsive climate, or having children as conversational partners, or even those strong partnership with families, because we do have that transition from home to the classroom. So even though we're focused on this one element, there are a lot of elements that fit into this area as well. We'll go to the next slide. Okay.
Right. So we are going to get into a text rendering activity here with our closer look document. So we'll drop the link to this in the chat. And so this document really helps to, add those additional layers to each of the elements on the ecosystem measure. So, so that fan that we saw in that previous slide, this closer look document will give a more in-depth look into each of those different elements for our language-rich ecosystem. And so the one we'll be taking a closer look at right now is we go back to the previous slide, it's the consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. And so what we're going to do is give you guys some time to take a look at the descriptors for what is it, why is it important? And what you're going to do is drop in the chat any words, phrases, or sentences that really stick out to you about consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. And so basically what we're going to do is essentially kind of make a found word type of poem. So if you joined us last time with Maggie and Terry, they did a text rendering around culturally preserving environment. And so we're going to be doing a text rendering around consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. So I'll give you all about a minute or two to kind of look at the descriptors for what is it, why is it important, and then again, drop in the chat a word that really stands out to you, or a sentence or a phrase that really sticks out to you that you want to lift up as you're taking a look at this particular element and what really
yes, send it here, because I just
so I'm just going to pause here. And if you've got something that you want to share, feel free to use the raise hand feature so we can have you come off mute and kind of share what you're thinking as well. Some things I'm seeing so far are like sense of order is something that stands out for consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. Feel safe to take risks. Expectations throughout the day. Sense of security and stability. Sense of security. Deepen connections, belonging, stability. Making everyday moments special. Consistency in order to feel safe and secure. Learning happens. Connection with each other. And Barbara has her hand raised. Barbara, is there something from the descriptors you'd like to share that resonate with you?
Yeah, I really just liked the idea that just having established routines and consistency just helps children at this age and this level feel secure, and it helps them to take risks. I really liked that idea, and I really see that in my own class, especially this year with just I teach fours, and we have some who have never been to preschool before. We have some who are new A third of my class is new to the state. And then the other third have been here before. So just seeing how quickly we were able to establish a routine and seeing what that gave the kids was pretty phenomenal.
That is so exciting. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely, like creating those safe spaces so that children feel comfortable, feel part of the community, and are, feel more comfortable taking those risks in the classroom and trying new things and engaging with, other kids that they don't know that well, and learning about new adults as well. If it's, their first time in school or first time in a particular classroom. And so definitely, thank you so much for lifting that, Barbara. That's a great connection here. And so we've got additional ones along the same lines, that safety and consistency, rooted in care, connection, and predictability. These are all wonderful offerings, and I appreciate you all sharing some of those things that really stood out to you in this text. So let's kind of take this a step further. So with this next part, we'll be using our annotation tool. So on this next slide, for those of you who have, or maybe on like a computer device, where it's a bit easier to kind of access and utilize the annotate tool. But if you notice on your bar towards the top of your screen, you may have to kind of toggle for that, but there should be like a little pencil symbol that says annotate. You can go ahead and click that, and it'll give you some options for different ways that you can annotate on the screen. In particular, we can play around with using the stamper. Feel free if you, would prefer to use the line to kind of like draw. And so we'll be using the stamps on the next slide. And on the next slide, we'll have another page of our closer look document. And so here, you'll put a star or whatever stamper you choose by anything you want to think more about in your own practice. So just take a moment to kind of reflect over these different indicators. On the left-hand side, you'll see some adult actions for what does this look like for the consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. And on the right side, you'll see what this looks like with children. So some of those actions there. So again, drop a star or underline some things that you want to think about more in relation to your own practice. So I'll give you guys some time to read, think, and then stamp. All right, I'm starting to see some marks being made. Awesome. So some noticing I'm seeing here is some stamps or annotations by mark routine moments with predictable and joyful songs and meaningful conversations. I see a cluster of stamps around make use of movement from one activity to another as a learning opportunity. See another cluster around prepare materials in advance to minimize the time children spend sitting and waiting. I'm seeing some around using that visual schedule or timers, cleanup songs, and other signals for transitions and routines.
If anybody has trouble finding the annotation, you can also put your ideas in the chat as well. You can type it up.
Yeah, thank you for lifting that, Nathan. Definitely utilize the chat if the annotate feature is not available or isn't working properly. I'm seeing consistently use rituals so children can grow to expect them, fostering a sense of security and belonging. So I'm dropping in the chat. The word preparation is something that they want to think more about in their practice. Classroom community, I'm seeing being underlined. Dividing up those roles and responsibilities so that there's consistency in implementing rituals and routines. And in the chat, we've got timers and transitional songs help in the classroom. So again, thank you all for pausing to take a moment to play around and see what you want to think more about in your practice. And just be thinking about maybe there's one thing you want to jot down that you want to be a bit more mindful about tomorrow, or think through that intentionality piece in terms of some things that we're looking at today with what does this look like in our classrooms. So we can kind of move on to the next slide. This one's more of just a preview of what else is in our closer look document. And so there's some QR codes at the top. There's some great links. We've got connected courses and resources and some reflection questions. So it's a very robust resource to kind of help you continue to think through these different pieces. And the great thing about today during our time, we'll explore some of those videos. So we'll see some of those a bit later. But I'm going to pass it off to Nathan, and we'll do one more layer of reflection before diving in to some examples.
All right, we can go to the next slide. What we're about to do now is we're going to put on our observation lenses, and we're going to watch some classrooms, some really neat examples, and share with you all and think about, let's reflect on the videos that we're going to look at. But before we do that, we need to be prepared. So this is a part of the ECM, the Ecosystem Construction Measure, which you can find on Cox Campus. And these are the different levels. We have a 1, a 1.5, a 2, a 2.5, and a 3. And so, and on the left, you can see the courses that are related. But I just want to point out that it's kind of highlighted in blue words. There's minimal evidence across classrooms, some evidence across classrooms, or strong evidence. And that 1.5 and 2.5 is kind of in between. So take a moment. We're going to give you a couple of minutes here to read through these, take a look at them. And I want you to think, before we look at some examples, I want you to think about your classroom or your site, and kind of rate it and think, where are you and where you want to be? So let's use that annotation tool again. And let's put a star under the number where we are and a heart where we want to be. And of course, you can also put that in the chat. So we'll give you a couple minutes to do that. All right, thank you all for being transparent and putting those stars and hearts in there. I love that all the hearts are in the 3s. We all want what's best for our sites, our classrooms, our children. So that's excellent. And so thank you for doing that and reflecting on that. So we'll just kind of keep this in mind, the explanations here, and as we move forward. But before we go to the next slide, I want to share with you, Leithia and I have a song to share with you. This is one that we both love, that we've used in our classrooms in the past, and it's a really good kind of morning meeting song. You ready, Leithia?
Yep.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Friends, friends. 1, 2, 3. All my friends are here with me. You're my friend. You're my friend. You're my friend. You're my friend. Friends, friends. 1, 2, 3. All my friends are here with me. Okay. It's so hard to coordinate that via Zoom. So yeah. thank you all for humoring us there. All right. So now we're going to look at some real examples in the classroom with the children. at the next slide. All right, so let's take a look at this. Watch this video, and we're going to watch another video, and we have a reflection question.
You ready to see your friends this morning, Daniel? Look at all your friends who are already here waiting on you, Daniel. Let's go tell your friends good morning. Let's tell your friends good morning. Come on. Say good morning, Aubrey. Look, and Miss Melody is here already. Look, and there's Kai and Brooklyn and Kaylee. All your friends were waiting on you. You say good morning. Say hello, everybody. Yes. Look, your friends are saying good morning to you, Daniel. Miss Melody is saying good morning. How do you do? Good morning, Daniel. How do you do? Good morning, Daniel. How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? How do you do? Choo choo! Yay, Daniel! Good morning.
My favorite part of that video is Daniel's face, and he's kind of like waking up, and then he starts smiling. I know Daniel cannot help but just be happy to be there now. That song was great. All right, so we will move to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so with this one, we're going to think about how can you coordinate with your teaching team to ensure that routines, rituals, and transitions are consistent and effective? Or if you're not in a classroom, how can you help develop those teaching teams to work together? And so watch this example and we'll share in the chat.
Wiggle them, wiggle them. Wiggle them, so. Wiggle them high.
Wiggle them low.
Wiggle them to the left. Wiggle them to the right. Wiggle them, wiggle them. Out of sight. I am anticipating a great day today.
All right. So what are some things, some ideas you have that you can work together as a team to ensure that those are happening consistently and they're effective and they're meaningful for the children? What can you do as a team to work together? You can unmute to share some ideas that maybe you've done in the past. I see in the chat some reflections of the video. They were practicing positional words. Okay, thank you. Yeah, there was definitely some learning going on there. How do you work with your co-teachers? How do co-teachers at your site work together with these types of routines or transitions or rituals? Everyone participating, having a greeting song sing off at your next staff meeting. Oh, okay, so planning. I see modeling. Okay, those are some great examples. I know sometimes, okay, a large group activity. I just imagine Letha and I having a classroom. We haven't worked in a classroom together, but when we sang that song, it made me think about how we might work together. And sometimes you have one person who's kind of leading the group at that time, and another person might kind of be singing along, but right there with everybody in the group and making sure, you know, that kids are engaged, or they might need to go to the bathroom. So a lot of times you have to kind of work together, and I see communication daily. Okay. Yeah. Having that communication, planning ahead. Love it. Start on day one and continue daily. So creating those familiar routines and rituals. Okay, Maggie, thank you for sharing out, drawing out a chart of the parts of the day in which teacher is going to do what in each moment, and then making sure that both teachers are participating in morning meetings. So we're demonstrating we're all part of the same community alongside the children. Yes, I love that. singing around where each student gets to do a solo part of the song. So they're eager to stay in the sing along. Planning ahead. I'm hearing a lot of planning, the charting, the planning, communicating. That's a big part of this. And I'm so glad that you all pointed that out, because without that, it doesn't usually lend itself to being as consistent. So children are much more comfortable knowing what to expect in these routines, these rituals, and these transitions. It helps to make the day go smoother when everybody's on one accord. So that's really so helpful. Communication on what each staff is comfortable doing. I like that. All right, we'll move on to the next slide.
All right, and with this, Nathan and I have another song, but this time it's in Spanish. So we'll count down and we'll give it another go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Amigos, amigas, 1, 2, 3. Todos mis amigos están aquí. Tú eres mi
amigo.
Tú eres mi amiga. Tú eres mi amigo. Tú eres mi
amiga.
Amigos, amigas. 1, 2, 3. Todos mis amigos están aquí. So thank you again.
Tell that Spanish is not, it's not my first language.
It's not my first language either. However, it is important to lift up the languages in the classrooms that you serve, and the children that you serve. So with that, we've got our Greet Me poster, which is a great way to begin your day with a morning meeting, and also bringing in those cultural and language elements into your morning meeting spaces as well. So just to give you a high-level overview of Greet Me you can learn more about in our preschool pre-K course on Cox Campus. It's part of our dual language learner track, and it is our second, not dual language learner track, it's part of our preschool pre-K track, and it's our second dual language learner course of connecting the dots through the preschool day. And in the chat, Maggie just dropped the link to the poster. And so Greet Me is one of our acronyms. And for those familiar with Cox Campus, you know we love some acronyms. So for Greet Me, the G in Greet Me is for greetings and good morning songs, just like some of the good morning songs that we have sang and also heard in some of the videos. Just ensuring that children's, first language and cultures are reflected, honored, and welcome. So us kind of bringing in that Spanish piece as well. In particular, if we had like some Spanish-speaking students in our classroom. And then along the lines with your routines and rituals, you're going to be introducing the general plan of the day. Generally, our classrooms have those lovely picture schedules, and also during your morning meeting time, carving out some time to let children know what to expect for the day, any special events or like a special guest. So giving children that heads up, because of course we know that infusing those like consistent routines and rituals really helps children know, what's going to happen next, feel safe, and all that good stuff. Then we've got the explore and extend. So explore what children have to say and extend conversation using supports. So inviting children into conversation, sharing, having the opportunity to share about themselves and their experiences, and using supports. So using gestures, using props, using visuals, those language connections. So infusing in the languages that children are coming with into the classroom. And then the T is for our theme connections. So those explicit theme connections to whatever your monthly theme may be, connections to that anchor book that you're reading with children, and that target vocabulary that you're pulling from that anchor text to help continue to extend that learning and giving them multiple opportunities with the content and skills. Then we've got the me part, which is our morning message. And then enjoy building community. So your morning message can be verbal. It could be like a brief written message that's connected to the topic or theme. And that just helps set, purpose for the day, clarify expectations, and just reinforce whatever learning will be occurring for the day. And then for the community piece, of course, preparing children for the learning that they're going to be experiencing, but also giving them the opportunity to continue to contribute and establish a caring, empathetic classroom community as a whole. And so what we've got on this next slide is we're just going to show part of a clip. It is a much longer clip that kind of goes through the many components within Greet Me, but for time purposes, we're only going to watch a little sliver. So think about some aspects of Greet Me that you notice in this clip, and feel free to drop them into the chat. Any things that you notice, things that you're thinking about, drop them into the chat as we view and listen.
Okay, let's sing. Buenos dias, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
Muy bien, gracias.
¿Y usted?
¿Y usted?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Very well, thank you.
And you?
And you?
Oh, that sounded good.
Good
morning. What's the weather like today? Like today? Like today? What's the weather like today so we can go and play? It is cloudy out today. Out today. Out today. It is cloudy out today so we can go and play. How does it feel? Does it feel cold or a little cool or a little chilly? A little chilly?
Yes.
It is chilly out today, out today, out today. It is chilly out today so we can go and play. And we have helpers today. Who is our helpers? Who remembers?
All right, so that's just one portion of their larger morning meeting experience. And so what are some parts of Greet Me that you notice that you'd want to lift up, either via the chat, or if you want to use the raise hand feature and come off the mic. Just gonna give a moment for some think time. All right, so some items in the chat that we have our greetings and morning song. So that G in the Greet Me, the good morning song. Oh no, Patricia, we'll have to take a look at the audio for you. We've got Love the Morning song in English and Spanish. So definitely uplifting the languages represented in the classroom. Hand signs while the teacher sings the good morning songs, so that use of gestures while speaking. Extending the conversation, using those supports. Different descriptions for describing the weather, so infusing that language and supporting children. The weather was discussed, and it seems to be, a part of their routine. The consistency, you can see the children know what to expect from prior experience. So this seems like something that has been practiced, and children get to engage in this on a day-to-day basis. And then we have an offering in the chat. I sing the kids' names in ABC order each morning as part of our good morning song. So acknowledging children by name. Children are engaged because it is a routine. And Maggie, we've got an offering. Having a song in Spanish is so key in this classroom that has many children whose first language is Spanish. great to see and hear themselves in the classroom at the start of each day. So again, helping to foster that safe and secure community where each child is honored and welcomed. Okay, well, these are awesome reflections. I'm just making sure that kind of got around to everybody. And with that, I'll pass it off to Nathan to get into some different types of routines.
All right. So we have a couple of quick videos. We're going to watch these and reflect on them, but just watch these routines, pay attention to how these teachers are interacting, and then we'll do some reflection.
Hey, ready for our favorite? Skidamarinka-dinka-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Skidamarinka-dinka-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Now you already know that. I love you in the morning. I love you in the afternoon. I love you in the evening. And underneath the moon, so skidamarinka-dinka-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. How about that?
We'll go right into the next one.
So you want it to be right here? I noticed you were really preparing for a nap. You're making a cozy place. And let me fix your blanket up for you. Everybody's nice and peaceful. Turn over on your stomach so we can get you cozy and comfortable. Okay, the princess cape is getting ready to go over you. You ready?
Yes.
Now you'll be all cozy and comfortable, okay?
The princess cape over.
So those are two different parts of the day and two different ways of approaching those parts of the day that are so key. So I want to ask you, and I'm going to put it in the chat, this is a reflection question for yourself. How can you prepare additional supports to help children be successful during transitions throughout the day? And examples are visual, songs, props, words in first language, modeling expectations, teaching the language of the classroom, different ways. How can you prepare for that in your classroom? And you can raise your hand and come on off of mute, or you can put that in the chat. I did see some comments while the video was going. So songs are such a great way to introduce and practice vocabulary in a joyful way. How can you prepare that's my comment. Using music, okay. A lesson plan is a way to prepare. Preparing rhymes and dancing. I love that all this is going on in your classrooms. Awesome. Being present and individualizing your time with each child. Nice. Music and movement for those opportunities. Yes. All right, we'll go on to the next slide, and you can continue to put ideas in the chat. And we're going to watch these two videos about hand washing.
Wow, you pulled your sleeves up. Let's pull our sleeves up, pull our sleeves up together. Right, look. What should we do next? Let's turn the lever on. The lever goes, let me show you. It goes up and down. Can you say lever?
Lever.
Yeah, let's turn the lever up. Can you press it up? And we're gonna wash our hands. Push, push, push the lever up together. And then we're gonna place our hands up under the water and get them wet. We're gonna rinse them with the water. Can you rinse your hands? Rinse, rinse, rinse your hands together. It's a little cold.
All right. We'll go right into the next example.
Yes, we normally wash our hands before we eat. And when we're washing our hands, we're removing those things that we've gotten on our hands all day, right? Yeah, those things are called germs. So let's scrub them together. Yeah, those little bitty things, they like you can't see them, and they're all over your hands. So we must wash them to get them off, okay? Rub, rub, rub. In between the fingers, we're scrubbing. Remember that in between the fingers, on top of the hands, and on the palms of your hand. That's this part right here. Please discard your trash into the trash can. Put it in the trash can. Thank you. Rub vigorously. That means you're gonna rub them really fast. All over. Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay, so think about the language that was in here. What kind of language did you hear? How can you use those opportunities to promote language? I see some answers in the box here. Narrating each step and integrating that vocabulary. Yes, that content is in there, the learning, vocabulary with explanations, modeling and singing while doing so, and talking about why we wash our hands. Very thoughtful and intentional language, descriptive and sequencing. Yes. Thank you all for sharing out. All right, so we'll go on to the next slide, and I want to show you all some resources. All right, so these are some resources that are available for you on Cox Campus for free. And one of them is rhymes that you can use in the classroom. And rhymes are such a great way for emergent literacy to happen throughout the day. We have songs that rhyme and little rhymes in here that you can do, little routines and rituals. And you heard some of those in the examples, but these are some that you have available. So you can pull these up, you can print these out, use them in your classroom, transition activity songs. And then there's a dual language learner support using visuals to help with transitions. So all these are available on Cox Campus. So please go and print these out, and little DIY, some of these are DIY activities. So have fun. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, and I love this. I know I asked this question already, but this is another example of supporting children during transitions. It's a quick video. It's one of my favorites. So we'll watch this.
Little dog, his name was Rex. He ate so much that his tummy sagged. His ears flip-flop, his tail wig-wag, and when he walked zigzag, flip-flop, wig-wag, zigzag. I see your zigzags. Are we ready to go outside? Yes, we are. Okay, let's go have fun. Follow me.
I love that little song. So what are the children learning there? You can put it in the chat. What kinds of things do they learn in just that short little clip? All right, feel free to put it in the chat. We're going to move on for the sake of time. I see rhyme in there. Yeah. They're learning about expectations, good listening. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next slide, and you all can put your ideas in the chat. So these are also available for you on Cox Campus, and these are ways to bring in PAC activities, phonological awareness, alphabet knowledge, and concepts of print for those preschool and pre-K age children. And like we said, learning content throughout your transitions. What a great way to continue to consistently and effectively use what they're learning through that phonological awareness. It might be a rhyming, it might be clapping out syllables. And here we have some examples like play I Spy with the environmental print. Prompt children to find a lowercase letter in the classroom and point to it to line up. Just simple examples. You can have these cards on a ring, have them in your classroom available. So please go print these out. They're for you, they're free. And the links are in the chat. Thank you, Maggie. On to the next slide.
All right, so as we start to close out, because I know we're coming up on time and we have just had so many great things to share with you all, feel free to drop in the chat or use the raise hand feature to come off the mic and share what are some alternatives that you can use instead of shh or be quiet to ensure that all children in your classroom have a voice. So kind of thinking about, we're getting ready to transition maybe out of center time. And how do you get children's attention as they're playing, engaging in their play and conversation during centers, which is hard work for the brain to, be interacting, but also having that interrupted and getting ready for a transition. How do you get children's attention without, yelling out, be quiet, to get everyone's attention, to let the children know that we're transitioning to something else, that you have a special message to tell them. Also on the screen, we've got some be quiet alternatives as a resource. And so we'll drop those into the chat as well. So those are things like your macaroni and cheese, everybody freeze, or your hands on top, that means stop. So some of those different call and responses. So I'm seeing some ideas coming into the chat for how you get children's attention without necessarily telling them shh. So I'm seeing clapping, yes, a series of claps, and that being intentionally taught so children can learn what that particular cue means and what to do. Clapping hands and start singing. Finger plays are a great way to get children's attention in a responsive way. If you can hear me, touch your nose. Another great idea there, getting the children's attention. We've got in here a Buddhist bell, so using bells. I see someone else said a chime, so it's using a form of an instrument to get children's attention. Echoing, special music, snapping of fingers. So I'm wondering if there's like a kind of like the clapping, a series of claps. Nonverbal cues like hand signaling. And so there would be certain situations where that would really lend itself well. If you hear my voice, the sound of my voice, clap once. I'm seeing clapping hands. Clapping hands seem to be a very popular one for getting children's attention. These are all wonderful offerings. And again, we dropped the link to the chat to some be quiet alternatives. Keep dropping in your ideas because I know that we are coming up on time and I didn't want to give you guys time to finish our closing out poll as well. So we've got a quick clip here for closing circle. How do you close out your day and continue to foster that sense of security and belonging within a classroom community?
Tell Miss Evans something that you remembered or was very exciting to you for today, or something you learned new.
I learned.
What you learn? I remember you doing something though in the block area. You were doing some things, and I saw you with that thing. You pull it out like this, and then you put it down next to a block. What were you doing?
I was measuring the block.
So you measured something today, right? And when you measure something, what were you doing? You wanted to see how
long it was.
Oh, you wanted to see how long it was? Everybody give Joseph a hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray!
And so I'm just going to walk us through quickly with this one, because again, I am watching the clock. And so with this video, this is just a wonderful example of having that opportunity to pause, review the day as a group, using some different props to help with that turn taking, to allow children the opportunity to share their experience. Scaffolding children's responses, so being able to help continue to build that language, asking those open-ended questions and supporting children's answers. And this also kind of helps everybody continue to build those relationships. And what a wonderful way to continue to boost that morale with using some classroom cheers to help cheer each other on. So just some wonderful, wonderful little snippets in there. And if you have some classroom cheers that you do, please drop in the chat. Like folks, definitely save the chat. There's some wonderful ideas in here, wonderful links and ideas. And so let's kind of move on to our next slide. We'll reflect. And these are just some things to think about. You can drop them into the chat. but we'll kind of continue to move along so we can get to our poll so you guys can kind of exit out. But be thinking about, which of these inspire you? We saw lots of great ideas. Our friends here shared some great ideas into the chat. What's inspiring you? What have you tried that might inspire others to try out in their classroom? So maybe something that hasn't been shared in the chat yet that you've tried that has just worked out well in your experience. Feel free to drop that into the chat. What's something that you'll try out in the coming weeks? Maybe you already know, like, I know there's something that I want to give a go based on what you've seen and heard today. And then what questions do you have? If there's anything circling, feel free to drop those into the chat. So again, we'll drop the questions into the chat as well, but just be thinking about some of these things and drop your responses in the box. And we're gonna go through these closing slides so we can get to our poll.
All right. So if you have not already done so, I know some of you said you haven't yet, so please be sure to create a membership on Cox Campus. It's completely free and always accessible. Tons of learning in there, tons of resources. We have all free courses that you can get credit for. So please, please, please go and join us in our community. And of course, it's in the chat there. All right. So we're also excited that coming up in November and in January, we are going to have more sessions, and some of our colleagues will be doing these. So on November 16th, we're doing Children as Conversational Partners. On January 18th, Integrated Planning and Teaching Around an Anchor Book. So if you go to Cox Campus and go to events, pull down the calendar, you can register just like you registered for this one. So thank you all for being here. We'll go to the next one. Okay, it's poll time. So how did we do? Use the poll to answer the question. So you're going to see a poll come up, and there are some questions in there. And let us know, did this session deepen your knowledge? Did it provide you with any actionable ways to transform your practice immediately that you can use today? What are you planning to do, and what changes will you make in your practice? And how likely are you to take the course? Remember, the course for all of these elements is an ecosystem approach to developing the foundation for reading in the early years.
All right, and with that, continue to, if you haven't had a chance to fill out that poll, but join us on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at /Cox Campus. Feel free to join our private Facebook group, the Cox Campus Community. Lots of robust conversation and sharing of resources. You can find us on Twitter at @Cox Campus and join us on LinkedIn at /Cox Campus. We are so thankful for you joining us today and carving out that time. Thank you for your reflections, your wonderful ideas, and just your commitment to serving children and creating these wonderful language-rich spaces.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening.